Despite the predictable drumbeat of reporting that tomorrow's off-year elections for governor in New Jersey and Virginia would be a referendum on President Obama's first year in office, they don't really seem to be shaping up that way. In New Jersey, incumbent Democrat and former Wall Street baron Jon Corzine faces more of a referendum on the way he's governed for the past 4 years, and his race against Republican Chris Christie is just about a toss-up. The Virginia race between Republican Bob McDonnell and Democrat Creed Deeds appears to be less about President Obama and more about Mr. McDonnell's ability to steer hard to the center away from his extra super socially conservative past, as well as Mr. Deeds' ability to get anyone excited about him at all. Mr. McDonnell appears to be winning in that race in Virginia. What has been illustrated by these two races is the state of fracture within the Republican Party. As usual, in 2009, the fracture can be seen through the prism of the Facebook fanatical former Republican governor and vice presidential nominee Sarah Palin. Via a parallel internet version of herself, Mrs. Palin endorsed both Republicans running for governor, McDonnell in Virginia and Christie in New Jersey. But curiously, she has not been seen on the campaign trail in either of those states. Her advisor said, quote, "The governor offered her assistance with both races. The ball is in their court." In Virginia, Bob McDonnell took the ball and dribbled as far away from Sarah Palin as he could without going out of bounds. He said, quote, "There was a time earlier on when she was governor when I thought she would come here, but I think she seems to be busy with books and other things like that." Ms. Palin did squeeze in time to record this robocall, notable mainly for the absence of two very important words. Check it out.
Virginia, hello, this is Sarah Palin. Calling to urge you to go to the polls today and vote to share our principles. The eyes of America will be on Virginia, and make no mistake about it, every vote counts. So don't take anything for granted. Vote your values on Tuesday, and urge your friends and family to vote too.
That was a robocall paid for by the Virginia Faith and Freedom Coalition, a Ralph Reed joint. It was not paid for by the McDonnell campaign. Still, you might have noticed that neither the word Bob nor the word McDonnell were actually said by Ms. Palin in the call. In other words, most recognizable person on the conservative fringe right, please don't mention the Republican candidate by name. In New Jersey, Republican Chris Christie hasn't shared a stage with Palin either. He did say in an interview over the summer, quote, "I don't think having Governor Palin here would do me or frankly the state a whole lot of good, in the sense that we need to talk and focus on what the New Jersey issues are." But over the weekend, the independent candidate running for governor in New Jersey as well, Chris Daggett, took aim at Sarah Palin and other Republicans.
I have had Republicans come in, from Rudy Giuliani to Sarah Palin to the Christy Mijos, who's running for governor in Massachusetts, people in New Jersey Party, Republican Party. And to be honest with you, they don't understand. I'm not running as a disgruntled Republican.
After that, Sarah Palin naturally social networked her response. She said, quote, "Please know that Daggett's claims are false. I've never even suggested he should drop out of the race. But come to think of it, ... A Daggett spokesman acknowledged that Palin did not ask Daggett to drop out previously. They had made a mistake, though Palin's response does suggest that he do so now. Folks may have hoped that tomorrow's elections would be a big feedback loop for President Obama's first year in office. But so far, it feels like we're learning a lot more about the opposition to President Obama than we are learning about him. Joining me now to break down these races is Melissa Harris-Lacewell, Associate Professor of Politics and African American Studies at Princeton University. Melissa, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial candidates keeping their distance from Sarah Palin. But in the special election in New York, Palin and other conservatives successfully forced the moderate Republican out of the race. What do you see as the difference between these two different kinds of races?
Well, certainly the fact that we're dealing with statewide races in very, at least for the moment, purple states. So, you know, the thing about Sarah Palin, I suspect that both of these Republican candidates are moving against in both New Jersey and Virginia is not even so much her far-right credentials, but the fact that she's someone who was so ill-suited for governing, so unwilling to do the difficult work, take the hard hits, make the compromises required for governing, that she quit her job before her term was out. And these are both Republican candidates who, for whatever their problems, want to to be taken seriously as, you know, potential lawmakers, governors, administrators, chiefs of their state. They don't want to run next to someone who, when she had the job they had, governor of a state, she couldn't hack it. She couldn't finish. So I think that's really very different than the kind of quirky local politics that you see in, you know, in congressional races. Those tend to be, you know, sort of more full of local flavor. Statewide races, a little more serious.
The New Jersey race, of course, features a third-party candidate as well. Chris Daggett, he's running as an independent. He says he's not a disgruntled Republican. Is his presence evidence further of this sort of Republican fracture, or is it different than that? Can you help us understand any more how that might be either helping or hurting either the other candidates in New Jersey?
You know, it's certainly true that in a state like New Jersey, where many voters think of themselves as independent-minded, you know, a candidate like Daggett makes a difference. He can actually, you know, be there, make a real showing, but he's certainly not going to win. He recognizes that he's not going to win, and it's pretty clear that he's going to be a spoiler for Chris Christie, not for Jon Corzine. So if Jon Corzine wins tomorrow, it will be in part because Daggett didn't leave. Look, Newt Gingrich said very early and consistently that a vote for Daggett is a vote for Jon Corzine. So, you know, it's clear that although he's claiming not to be a disgruntled Republican, to instead be simply independent-minded of these kind of, you know, quirky New Jersey politics, he's operating as a disgruntled Republican.
Melissa, when the country looks at these races tomorrow, obviously most of the country is not voting. There's interesting mayor's races in some places. There's these couple of gubernatorial races, a couple of special elections, some interesting ballot measures, but most of the country won't be voting. When we look to the national import of Election Day 2009, what do you think these races will tell us about either how the Obama administration is doing politically or how the Republican Party is defining itself in the minority?
Look, there's no doubt that these races are going to make a difference, particularly for the 2010 midterms, particularly in Virginia, where, you know, Deeds has not been a strong candidate. Whatever votes he gets is probably because he is a Democrat in a state that went hard for Barack Obama. But part of the question was whether or not the Obama candidacy actually created machines in new places. And Virginia was particularly important, a state that had been red for 44 years in the presidential elections, that has all of these demographic changes, a strong new South Asian voting bloc in Northern Virginia, some important liberal blocs in places like Charlottesville, and whether or not you could actually turn that into something that had legs beyond simply the personality of the president. And it looks as though that's not happening in Virginia, in part because this campaign was not well run. The president didn't spend much time there stumping for this candidate. Now, in New Jersey, you've got someone who is in certain ways more progressive than Barack Obama, clear on his support for marriage equality, aggressive on questions of extension of health care. And if he can't pull it out here in New Jersey, I think there would be ways that many could suggest that people don't want a progressive agenda in the state of New Jersey, and also that the Obama machine can't operate in Virginia. These could potentially be very, very important challenges to Obama's sort of machine, to Obama's administration. So if there are losses for the Democrats in either of these states, I hope the Obama administration and Democrats in Congress are ready to talk about how these are local elections and spin this away from what could potentially be very troubling for the Democratic Party.
Melissa Harris-Lacewell, Associate Professor of Politics and African American Studies at Princeton.
Go Saints.
Thank you for coming on the show tonight and for doing your first ever stunt. This is excellent. I really appreciate it.